So I'm really excited to get a chance to talk to Kirk Cameron. Everybody knows him from Growing Pains back in the 80s, but also from that massive hit, Fireproof. He's invested a lot of time and energy and faith in family-focused films and television shows. He's got a new film coming out Monday, June 13th. It'll be in theaters June 13th and 14th. It's called Homeschool Awakening, a subject very dear to my heart. Kirk, thanks for coming by. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, great to talk with you. Love you and all that you do in Daily Wire. So I'm a little giddy talking to you right now.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. You know, I taught briefly at Hillsdale, and most of the kids there were homeschooled. And I have to say, as a snooty elite, I was absolutely stunned by how well-informed they were, how flexible in mind. Do you think that homeschooling gets a kind of bad rap?
Oh, yeah, it definitely does. You know, just ask MSNBC, who called us a bunch of racists trying to destroy American education. But not only that, I was allergic to the idea of homeschooling as a father of 6 kids. And I was looking for options because after 6th grade, we didn't like what we had available to us. But I didn't consider homeschooling. I thought that was this fringe, weird, like you need to be a Quaker, have a head covering and churn your own butter if you were going to homeschool your kids. And I live in Hollywood and I make movies. But what we discovered was that our stereotypes were completely wrong. And as you just said, this homeschool community is not only exceptional, but it is exploding. It's growing exponentially, particularly since the pandemic shutdowns sent a bunch of kids home from public school. The parents saw what the kids were learning on the computers and said, holy smokes, this is no good. And so they pulled them out, and many of them are discovering homeschooling is the gold standard for their family now, not only to get away from the bad stuff, but it's causing their family to flourish because of all the time together, and they're imparting the values and the knowledge they want their kids to learn.
First of all, just a bit about Homeschool Awakening. This is going to be only June 13th and 14th, Monday and Tuesday, is going to be in theaters. Just kind of describe the film a little bit. What are we going to see?
Sure. That's exactly right. Monday and Tuesday in theaters only. And really what it is, Andrew, is a deep dive into the everyday adventures of American homeschool families who are on mission to put faith, family, and freedom back into learning. And so you're going to hear from the families themselves. You're going to hear from the students themselves about what it was like, why they got into homeschooling, how they thought they never could do it. And they're going to show you their strategies for socialization, time constraints. How do working families homeschool their kids? Is homeschooling the only way to do it? What about academic rigor? Is it competitive with other educational options? What do colleges think of homeschool kids? And how in the world do I teach physics and trigonometry when I didn't understand much of 6th grade math myself?
Yeah, that is what I want to know. How do you do that?
Well, my dad happens to be he was a public math teacher, and my grandparents were public school teachers too. So this isn't a bash on public schools per se or public school teachers, as some are sort of wanting to characterize this film. This is really about understanding that there is hope for parents who are not happy with what's going on in their public schools, and there are options. And if you're not great at teaching math, I guarantee you that there are people within your local homeschool communities that are qualified and would love to make themselves available to help you and your kids. But guess what? They'll ask you to help them with the things you're qualified and passionate about teaching to their families. And this is parenting, right? This is you taught your kids from day one. Just keep doing it. And you learn so much more than just reading, writing, and arithmetic. You get to learn how to do life together outside the box, be an initiative taker, be creative, set your own schedules, your curriculum, your processes. It's really the sky's the limit. And that's why I'm calling it a great homeschool awakening, because parents didn't think it was possible, and now they're realizing it is.
So how bad, obviously the kind of grotesque things that happen in public schools, the teaching kids to be in drag or whatever, those things make the news. But how bad do you think the situation is? How pervasive is it?
Well, from what I have researched, and Daily Wire is one of my key sources. It's really bad. It's not an overstatement to say that the government-controlled public education system. Now, this is not counting the good teachers in the system, the good families in the system, like my dad and my grandparents, but the government-controlled system itself is looking to fundamentally change morality, fundamentally change the principles that have led to this free republic. And that kind of stuff is literally, in my view, rotting the minds and souls of American children. So the homeschooling movement is not anti-education. The homeschooling movement is pro-education. It's pro-family. It's pro-goodness and truth and beauty and faith. We want to get back to the things that actually lead to human flourishing, not the things that turn our children into little Marxist revolutionaries.
It's funny. When I was at Hillsdale, I was talking to one of the students there, and she said, and she had not been homeschooled. She came out of the public school system. And when she got there, the dean gave a speech about truth and beauty, and she burst into tears because she'd never heard of the concept before. She had never heard of the concept of truth and beauty.
Wow.
Yeah. So it is a problem. What do you have just as good a chance of getting your kid into a good university homeschooling?
Well, you experienced this yourself at Hillsdale, and we document in the movie that colleges love homeschooled students. And the reason why, I think, is because kids are socialized in a whole different way. They're allowed to really lean in and pursue their passions, and then learn reading, writing, and arithmetic and the other things as part of a rich, robust lifestyle of interacting with people of different ages. If you typically think of a 13, 14-year-old, many of them are stuck in this monoculture in a school where they know how to, sort of text their friends and share TikTok videos, but are really awkward and uncomfortable carrying on an adult conversation about politics, about worldview, about whatever it is. But homeschool kids, that's just a walk in the park for most of them, because they're constantly dealing with older siblings, parents, grandparents who are part of the educational process, as well as communities and networks and co-ops and conferences that they're a part of. Starting businesses, getting your pilot's license at 14 years old, children talking about their success stories and how their parents allowed them to develop their own identity, not sort of this cookie cutter approach, one size fits all educational model. And it's inspiring. I mean, I'm really fired up about it. It's remarkable what these parents are doing.
The movie is called The Homeschool Awakening. It's available only Monday and Tuesday in theaters, June 13th and 14th. You want people to show up for I assume this is going to be released in other ways after this theater opening, but it's important for people to show up at the theater, isn't it?
It is really important. Thanks for mentioning that. It sends a message throughout the marketplace when people show up and they buy tickets at the movie theater. It says, we want more of this. This is what we want. And so rather than complaining about the darkness, let's turn on the lights. So if you are a homeschool family, come support the homeschool movement and learn some smart strategies from other families to enhance your experience. If you're thinking, I'm curious, but I don't think my family could ever do this, is it worth the time and investment of money and resources? Listen, I would suggest you come and educate yourself and let these families tell you for themselves what it's done for their children and for their family as a whole, and see what the possibilities might be for you and your family.
I only have time for one more question, but that's the thing that I really want to ask. If you're a Hollywood guy or a successful guy, but if I'm just an ordinary person and I'm not in a hub where I might be able to get in touch with all these people, it does seem like it might be overwhelming to me to say, how do I begin to do this, and how my kid's not going to get lost? Is that an illusion, or is there reason to be afraid?
I think that's a great question, and that just reveals that your level of care for your children and their education is high. So that's a great place to start. But I think what you'll discover is that there are millions of people who feel just like you do, and they want to get to know you, and you're going to want to get to know them. And you discover your tribe, you discover your people within your community that you never knew existed. Not to mention, you have the access to just about anything. If you want to learn how to fix a toilet, you want to learn how to barbecue a brisket, you want to learn how to write a book or make a movie, online access of information through Hillsdale, through other colleges, universities, private schools, public schools is practically endless. And so that community, online and locally, provides you with the tools you need and even financial help, likely through churches and communities of faith, and then those homeschool co-ops. You've got a tremendous community that is in your corner cheering you on and is going to help you out.
Kirk Cameron, the film is Homeschool Awakening, June 13th and 14th in theaters, the only 2 days it will be in theaters. Give it the support it needs. We keep talking about this at the Daily Wire. We need your support. Homeschool Awakening needs your support. It doesn't help to complain if you don't show up when we actually do the work. Kirk, thanks so much for coming on. We really appreciate talking to you.
Oh, man. Thanks so much, and keep up the great work. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks a lot. For more delicious Klavan goodness, For more delicious Klavan goodness, subscribe and like and subscribe to the Andrew Klavan Podcast.